Good morning. My name is Brandon White, and my sermon today is titled Choice, the choice to return to God. Dave Shanuel called me up. He said, Brandon, you have a choice. He said, you can drive almost 5-hour round trip in the cold to go speak to a bunch of country folk you don't know. Do you want to do it? I said, absolutely. But not if it was 6. If it was 6 hours, I don't know about that. Dave Shanuel is a great guy. He's the kind of guy who will make you feel, even if you're a stranger, he'll make you feel like you're his best friend. And when I think of Dave, the first thing I think of is a white beard. That's the first thing I visualize. Second thing is a jolly smile. Now, we're already starting to sound a lot like Santa Claus. He's just too skinny, I think. But he's a great guy, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning to preach God's Word. I grew up on a farm in Missouri when I was little, and then I moved to a small town, and then we moved to Kansas City, so I've experienced it all. But I'm glad I got to live on a farm when I was a little kid. I think that's the best time to live on a farm. You get to experience God's nature. You get to run off and be by yourself and have that time to just see what God has created. And we had cattle, hogs, chickens. We leased out land for crops. And I remember one time with the hogs, I was in there about 6 years old, with the pigs, and all of a sudden one ran between my legs, picking me up off the ground. And I rode that pig about 20 feet before falling into I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yes, well, it wasn't good. I know that. And I've got to experience a lot on the farm and a lot with animals. I like to hunt and fish. I still go hunting and fishing. Not hunting and fishing, but hunting and fishing. That's how you say it. And with animals, I've noticed humans have a lot in common with animals. We do. We both work. You have to work to eat to survive. We both, humans and animals, both use teamwork sometimes. Herds and flocks and packs. And we use Congress. It's not always effective, but we have similarities. Humans and animals both play. You'll see that, animals playing sometimes. But humans and animals are different. What makes us different? Well, humans are more intelligent, sure. They have deeper emotions, yes. We have a soul. But the main difference is we get to choose what we do with it. We have freedom of will, freedom of choice. We can choose the kind of human we want to be. And for me as a little kid, I believed in God. But as I got older and we moved into the town, into the city, and I got involved with different friends and sports and everything, and I started to have doubts. All of a sudden I became more of an agnostic. I wasn't sure what I believed anymore. But we know there's one thing that can change any man, and that's a woman. I met my wife in 5th grade. That's right, 5th grade. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, if you can call it that. And, long story short, we ended up splitting apart, but in college we ended up getting back together. And she said, if you're going to choose me, you have to choose him first. So I started researching this whole God thing again. And the more I researched, the more evidence I found that supports God is real. Jesus is who he says he was. And I became a Christian. I chose to follow Jesus in 2009. My wife actually baptized me. It was at a church camp in Colorado. It was a pond. And I felt my heart just moving more and more towards not just considering, yeah, okay, God, yeah, but in my heart, wanting to return to Him. And I got baptized. And since then, I've been, not perfect, but definitely a different person, a new creation. A desire to want to spread God's word to people and to family members and relatives. We always have relatives who maybe aren't saved. And I've been, wanting to help return them to God also. So you see this choice, this theme of choice in humans that animals don't have. And if you look at the Bible is just really it's about choices. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He chose to create, and it was good. And He created humans in His image, and He called it very good. God doesn't make bad choices. Now, we have freedom of will. We have choice, and as humans, we have, since the fall, since original sin, since Adam and Eve, we have a sinful nature. So when we make bad choices, that's our sin nature. But when we make good choices, now I know not one human is good, right, compared to God, but we have the capacity to make good choices. What is that? Is that our sin choosing to be good? No. That's us being created in the image of God. Even people who don't believe in God, they have morals. Humans have morals. Animals don't have morals, right? So the capacity for us to do good is the fact that we are made in the image of God. If you look at the Bible, God chose to create. Creation chose to stray. You know what sheep like to do? Sheep like to stray. That's why they need a shepherd, right? To protect them from the wolves who want to attack and to keep them together. And Jesus compared humans a lot to sheep. He didn't call us, eagles. That'd be kind of cooler, right? If we were like eagles, independent, we can fly off and do great things. Now, humans can do great things. But a lot of times you'll see that the greatest things in humanity have come from people and cultures who follow God. The strength of America is in our Christian foundation. And I believe the more that goes away, the less greatness you'll see from America. So, you have humans, which are like sheep, straying. And you have God, the shepherd, always trying to bring them back. If you look in the Bible, you see great biblical figures. David. David started off great, right? Defeated Goliath. He responded to King Saul with patience and kindness and forgiveness. But David's a sheep, and he strayed. He saw Bathsheba. He sent Uriah, her husband, to the front line to be killed. And you look at other people, you just go down the list. You look at Jonah. Jonah was given the opportunity to take God's word from God Himself to Nineveh. A great opportunity. But Jonah was a sheep, and he strayed. And if you want to know what bad choices will get you, it'll get you in the belly of a whale. We've all been in bellies of whales, right? You look at all these figures, great figures. What do they all have in common? Well, they've all strayed in some way, in some form, except Jesus. You look at great biblical figures and you think, why are they great? Well, sure, absolutely faith. And they did great things too, right? But the one thing that all those people have in common is that they all returned to God. So returning to God, that's the whole story. Returning to God, that's the whole game right there. If I have a model for my children, it's no matter what you do, return to God. If I have a model for myself, whatever I do, and I'll make bad choices. I have made bad choices. I will make more bad choices. But return to God. When you scream at your kids or at your spouse, return to God. When you create rumors and you gossip, return to God. When you lie and slander, return to God. When you steal, return to God. When you cheat, or even commit adultery, or even just look lustfully in your heart, in your mind, return to God. If you commit murder, return to God. The answer is always the same. Return to God. But it's a choice. And we don't have to return to God. God doesn't make us, because love isn't force. Love is choice. God created us with a choice. God created the angels with a choice. Lucifer had a choice. There's people, people who've even seen Jesus, who saw the resurrected Jesus, and still chose to stray. That's why some people are like, well, why doesn't God just show up and we can all see him and then everyone would know? Doesn't mean they would follow. Doesn't mean they would follow. It comes from our heart, right? Everything, you looked at David, you look at Jonah, you look at everybody. And at some point in their heart, they humbled themselves. They humbled themselves and they returned to God. So, my mom, I told you I was working on my relatives since I've been baptized. And my mom now, I guess for 12 years since I've been a Christian, periodically I would send her, emails, books to read, movies to watch. I didn't want to force it too much, but I was always planting seeds. And maybe it was all of that, or maybe it was the fact that her mother passed away recently, and she's aware of impending death. But my mom told me about 2 months ago, she wants to be baptized. She's returning to God. And that's what I want for all of us, is to return to God. And the best way that I do it, I'm going to do a demonstration here. What I do is this. This is how I return to God. If I know I've done something wrong, or I know my ego's getting out of check, I put myself in a posture of submission, because then I'm in a position of power. Let me say that again. When we put ourselves in a posture of submission, we put ourselves in a position of power. Not our power, God's power. Because when we are open, God can come in. God can forgive. God can love. God can return us to Him. And if you look at Lucifer, and you look at Judas Iscariot, and you look at different people who have strayed, they didn't do that. And where are they now? But if you look at the people who found the peace that surpasses all understanding, the way they got there was through a posture of submission. Whether you make mistakes and you fail and you're at the very bottom, or if you succeed and you become rich and famous, maybe even more so. Always return to God. But that's a choice you'll have to make.